Hello, everyone. My name is Edwin Hill. I'm so grateful to be here today for the Suffolk Mystery Authors Festival and to be talking to my great friend, the wonderful author, Shawn Reilly Simmons. Welcome, Shawn.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Shawn and I haven't seen each other's face in about 2 years now. So it is really nice to be chatting with each other and to be able to spend this next hour together. So for folks who don't know, Shawn is the author of the Red Carpet Catering Mystery Series. She is the author of numerous short stories. She has won the Agatha. She is one of the organizers of Malice Domestic. She is a editor at Level Best Book. Is that your title, editor?
I'm the managing editor and president.
Managing editor and president of Level Best Book. So she wears a lot of hats professionally. So I thought that might be a fun way to organize our conversation today. I kind of would love to talk about sort of start with writing and your series and writing novels. Then we can kind of move into the short story realm and then talk a little bit about Malice and kind of finish up with Level Best. Does that sound good?
Sounds great. Yeah, I'm down for whatever. You know that. I'm always down for whatever everyone wants to do. It's good for me.
That is absolutely true. And if anyone goes to Malice or any of the cons, you will know this if you bump into Shawn in the bar. She's always up for another drink, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk a little bit about how you got started as a writer. What inspired you? What influenced you?
Well, I've wanted to be a writer since I can remember. So I was probably about 8 years old when that all got started. That was always the dream. That was what I always wanted to be. I had to be other things to pay rent and things like that, but that was always the dream job. That was what I always wanted to do. So that was the inspiration. I think I decided when I was very young. I was voted the best creative writer. Well, the teachers said it. I don't think it was a vote. The teacher decided. I was awarded best creative writer in my high school class. So I got like a little plaque and a little check or whatever. So that was very encouraging. And then I went off to college and I studied creative writing and English. I was an English major with a concentration in writing and editing. And my sophomore year, a professor pulled me aside and said, I love your stories. I think you're a strong writer. I think you should write a novel right now. That's thinking, oh my God, what do you mean? I don't know anything about anything yet. I felt like you had to live a life in order to sit down and write about anything. I just thought, well, I'm working at a bar at night. What do you mean? But it was very encouraging. And I always remembered that. And it was, I always sort of felt like this was something I was going to be good at eventually. And I was encouraged really early on, which I'm very grateful for. And then when I had my son, I decided I worked in a lot of marketing jobs and advertising, because when you're a good writer or a writer, any kind of writer, if you're interested in writing is basically persuading people to either be entertained or, it's basically like using words to motivate someone in some kind of way is what I always thought of writing. So I did a lot of marketing and advertising and things like that, because, you can write a really good piece of copy and sell some carpet to somebody or whatever. So I used my writing skills for work. So a lot of time that fell into marketing. So I got a good background in sales and marketing through, needing to pay rent and things like that. And then when I had my son, I decided, okay, now I'm going to sit down and write a novel. And I had been kind of tooling around and editing for other people. Like I always sort of kept my hand in, like, I really want to be a writer full time. I want to be a creative writer full time. I don't want to write ads full time, but that was really good to bring money in at that time. So I said, I'm just going to write this novel. And I just, who cares if I'm just going to see what happens. And if I'm just going to see what happens. And I did. And I wrote a novel, which I think that when people are starting to write, it's sort of like writing a novel. Everyone thinks, oh, I could write a book if I just had the time kind of thing. And I think everyone thinks they can do that. But finally finishing 70,000 words or whatever it is that first time, that makes sense together and have a beginning, middle, and end, and you finish that, that's a major accomplishment just there, if nothing else ever happens. Like you've written a book, and that's really exciting. So I did that, and then I just kept going. So that was it.
Now, did that turn out to be your first book?
Yeah, that was the one.
Wow.
Now you have it there.
for anyone who doesn't know, Shawn writes this series, which is the red carpet catering mysteries, and there are 6 books or 7 books in the
There's
series.
7.
7.
So far 7. Yeah.
And tell us a little. So that was your very first novel. How long did it take you to when you were writing that novel? How long did it take you to finish it? How many starts did you have?
Well, I started the one time and I wrote the first book, and it took me about, I guess it took me about 6 to 8 months to get that first book written. And I had a little baby at the time, like an infant. So I was, getting up at the crack of dawn with him and feeding him, and then I would lay him back down. And when you have a new baby, they don't sleep. They don't like get up and hang out with you all day. Like they sleep, then they wake up and they eat, they sleep, and they wake up. So whenever he was sleeping, all my family, oh, you'll just sleep when he sleeps. I'm like, I can't sleep all day. I mean, I need to have some kind of awake time. So he would just go for a nap, and I would just write when he was sleeping, or I would get up really early. When he got a little bit older, I would just get up super early and write before he woke up, and then we'd have our day. And but yeah, I just kind of stole little moments of time because it was a gift that I got to stay home with him. 'Cause
Sure.
I know that that's not always a thing everyone gets to do. My husband and I both had sort of chaotic childhoods where, our moms were working like 17 jobs. So like make sure we get, so we wanted to have a little bit more calm household where somebody was always home. And that's how we just decided to do that. And turns out I got to be me, and I was very lucky, and I got to have this. It was a gift that, I got to be able to have this time with him and a time to write. And so it was just sort of like, and it also gave me something to do that kept my brain from turning into total brain mush from taking care of an infant that screamed, So it was my escape
Nice.
from the tough times. But yeah, I started it and I finished it. But the funny part about that was I got all the way to the end and I didn't finish it. I had one more chapter to go, and I just didn't finish it. And I mean, I finished it eventually, but my husband said, "Well, are you going to finish that book? He's like, you've been working on it. What's going on?" I said, I need to work on the garden. I mean, I really need to get this other stuff done around the house." He's like, "Why don't you just finish that book that you're writing?" And I said, "Well, then if I finish it, it's done, and then I got to show it to people, and that I got like a little anxiety, at the end."
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I'm going to like it." And he's like, "Do you like it?" I said, "Yeah, I actually really like it. I think it's pretty good." I said, "But what do I know?" He goes, "I'm going to like it." And he goes, "Our moms are going to like it." He's like, "There's 4 people right there. So there's 4 people already that are going to like it. So just finish it." And I said, "All right, I'll finish it." So I finished it. And he was right. People liked it. So that was good. But I was sort of hesitant at the end just to say the end, I guess, because
Sure. Yeah, I can totally understand that. I'm going to skip a little bit ahead, but just briefly, I think one of the things you were already involved with Malice at that point, right? And so you already had a lot of connections and supporters within the crime community at that point. How did that help you? How did that bolster your spirits? How did that help you as you sort of went from being, a closet writer to trying to sell the novel?
Yeah, well, I always say, well, don't go by me if you want to hear like those. I said that 20,000 rejections, and it took me forever. I was like, well, I kind of walked into the bar. My manuscript was finished. It wasn't a book yet, and I was talking to this agent that used to come every year, and she knew me for years. I mean, she knew me really well, and we'd had lots of drinks together over the years and stuff. And she said, "Oh, guess what? I wrote a book." She's like, "Get out of here!" And I said, I said "Yeah." She goes, "Well, give it to me, and I'll read it on the train on the way back to New York. And if I like it, I'll call you. If I don't like it, I'll see you next year at Malice. How's that?" It's like, fair enough. Okay. All right. So she called me a couple weeks later. She goes, "I loved it. I thought it was great. I think this is going to do really well. I really want you to hurry up and write the second book. So just get started, get cracking on that." So that was another piece of early encouragement that I got. So
That's
yeah.
great.
Long story short, that obviously doesn't happen to everyone, but I would say I was an overnight sensation that took, 10 years to happen because I just was hanging around for so long with you. Oh, when I wrote my first book, people are like, "Oh, you haven't written a book yet?" Like, that's weird. What's taking you so long, kind of thing. I'm like, "Oh, all right." But yeah,
Well,
that's how that got going.
when we first met, I think you maybe had either 2 or 3 out. And one of the things I was enormously impressed with was your how prolific you are and how dedicated you are to writing. It's hard to have a job and raise a child and also write a novel all at the same time. So that's very, very impressive. So tell us a little bit about, so the main character in the series is a woman named Penelope Sutherland. And it's so interesting to see a series over 7 books and how a character changes, how the author envisions that character over the number of books. So tell us about who Penelope is, how you saw her evolve over the course of the series, and then maybe we'll get into what's next for Penelope.
Okay. Yeah, she is a young, very fiercely independent, hardworking woman with long blonde hair. So she's totally nothing like me. I'm just kidding. She's a lot like me, and I don't know if it's because I was a first time author. She's not based on me at all, but it's just sort of that was sort of the character that I felt like I could speak the most accurately about. Not the blonde part, but like the being young and being on your own early in life and really kind of just making your own way. And that's how she's always been in my mind. She's just sort of like, I'm just going to start my own company and do this thing. Even if I'm not a man, I can be a chef kind of. So I just wanted her to have a very strong voice and personality. And that's like me. I mean, she could have dark hair.
So tell us about, what is her company? It's such an interesting profession.
She's chef owner of Red Carpet Catering, which I cannot believe is not a real name of a catering business. I looked it up. I'm like, why is no one's called it this? But she and her crew go to movie sets and they cater a movie set, which is actually a job that my sister had right out of culinary school, and I had. I would go and be her assistant, and then eventually I started working on a team as well. So it's a really fun. I mean, there's lots of caterers. People cater weddings and different things, but movie set catering is a unique thing because it's very long, and you can be on a set for like 16 hours cooking. And Robert De Niro walks in like, oh, he likes his eggs this way. So that part of it is really cool, but then it's also really, really hard work, and it's very competitive, and you have to get, bid to get different jobs and things like that. So I wanted to bring a little bit of that. She has a strong business sense as also as being a good cook, and she's very strong-willed, and but that's how she was created. She was like the ideal version of, my sister and I, basically. Like, who would we want us to be, in fiction? I mean, she's fictional, but she does make mistakes, and she's not perfect. And I never wanted to write a perfect character. I think she's a little too headstrong sometimes, and being too independent can backfire on you as well. Because some people think, well, she doesn't need my help. She never asked for help, so why would I help her? And I found myself in that situation. So, you strive to be perfection, and that can also be a really major flaw. So I wanted her to have some of that stuff too.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about this series is everyone knows about Cabot Cove syndrome. Everyone suffers. Anyone who writes a series, an amateur sleuth series, is challenged by Cabot Cove syndrome, where lots of murders happen in the same place over and over again. So how do you choose, as you were working through each of the novels, how did you choose the location that Penelope was going to? Because she goes to some really interesting places.
Yeah, well, I just sort of, when you're writing a series, you're writing a fictional book, like, where would I like to spend the next 8 months? I would like to be in Hawaii. Kind of like how Adam Sandler chooses his projects. I'm like, I'm pretty sure all of his movies don't need to be filmed in Maui, but guess what? That's where they're all filmed. Because, why wouldn't you want to go to Maui and hang out with your friends for 4 months? That's awesome, So I tried to pick like a fun destination, and also to be realistic to the film industry, because I'm a huge movie fan. I have been for a really long time, and if I hadn't gone to be an English major, I would have gone to film school. It's just a huge passion of mine, and so since I did not go to film school, I gave myself my own film school. I've watched every movie that's ever been nominated for an Academy Award since like in 1970 on. I just picked the year-ish that I was born, and I can't do 71 because I'm OCD. I need the 0. So I just watched, in the major categories. And I just really, I got into foreign film for a long time. I just really I never wanted to walk into a conversation about movies and not know what somebody was talking about. So I just sort of gave myself that education, and I watch movies, fanatically, and I love movies that are set in mountains. And I have she goes to the mountains one time, and I read all the entertainment news. Like when the thing happened with recently with Alec Baldwin on the set of Rust, I got tweets because that happens in one of my books. What happened to him happens in one of my books. And one of the fans, she's like, oh my, the first thing I thought of was Shawn Reilly Simmons' book, and I was like, oh my God, because things like that can happen on a set. I mean, obviously it's a workplace, and there's dangerous workplace things, but to avoid the Cabot Cove thing, I thought it was cool because she's never in one town. She's on a set, and the set moves. But a movie set is like a little town, because I've said it a couple other times in interviews where, you have the actors and the famous people, but you also have the cooks that are cooking for them, and you have carpenters that come and build the sets, and you have hairdressers, and you have accountants, and people that do the payroll, and people that walk around telling other people what to do, with the little headsets on. So it's a
Yep.
community of about 300 people that come together to make this project. And that to me is a small town community. That was my small town community, just this collection of people that come from all over the world and country, or even maybe they're all just local, but they could get into conflict with each other. And it's not just
Sure.
like, I randomly killed the postman that's been coming to my house every year for, every day for years. But that's how I sort of try to keep it fresh and not, I mean, it is weird that somebody gets killed in every single movie set. I mean, that's, but you got to give me a break.
You have
here.
to suspend a little bit of disbelief. Come on. I mean, any one of these amateur sleuths would be arrested at
Yeah,
this
it's like,
point.
Where were you when this happened?
I know. Let's ask you that. So tell me, you've written 7 of these books. What do you want to do with Penelope next?
Well, the 8th one is finished, but I would honestly have to go back and look at it again because it's been a while. My publisher's taking a break, publishing, I guess, and they're not moving forward on anything at the moment with anyone. So it remains to be seen what will happen with the series. But if it has to end where it ended at book 7, I'm very happy with how it ended. And
Nice.
it's a good tie. And I wasn't trying to tie. I mean, it could clearly go on from there, but it was a good sort of relationships had come to either an end or a different level. And every book I tried to advance their personal relationships with each other, with their significant others, or with new people, or I didn't ever want it to be sort of the same thing all the time. And I think a lot of writers do that. Like you can't really mess with the formula too much of a traditional mystery, but you can advance your characters' lives. You can age them and let them experience loss and different things, parents die and different stuff like that. So yeah, but I'm happy if it has to end there. I'm happy with how it ended.
Nice. So talk to us. What can you tell us about as far as novels go, what can you tell us about what you're working on now, and what inspires you in that work?
I'm working, well, now, you have a long running, it's not long. I mean, some people have written 20, 40 books or whatever, like the Charles Todd. That's not that long. 7 books, but that's a long for me series and a very relatively short writing career so far. So for me, it's kind of nice to be able to, I can do whatever I want now. I can branch out, and I've been working on, I have like 3 standalone ideas that I've been tinkering with, and they're different stages of getting finished. But I love domestic suspense, and that's how they're kind of falling into the, I love your books, Edwin. I want to write just like you. You're my hero. But yes, I love domestic suspense, and I'm working in that subgenre at the moment for some
Nice.
standalone novel length things. Yeah.
I just finished a standalone after having written a series, and it's like a different beast, and it's really fun because it's very freeing. You can kind of do whatever you want with different characters, and there was a lot of fun there. So I encourage you to continue along that path.
Yeah.
Well,
anything you write is just, I can't get enough. So just never ever.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
So let's talk a little bit. Let's move. So we just talked about novels. Let's move into short stories. I personally have about 1 short story in me per year tops. I'm impressed by. I've seen so many stories coming out by you recently. So I'm curious if you may not. I'm curious. How would you describe yourself as a short story writer? Is there a style that you look for? Is there a certain type of story that you like to write?
No, not really. I'm mostly inspired by ideas, and most of the time I see a call for submissions for whatever anthology, and if I immediately land on an idea, like a spark of, it doesn't matter what the story is. After that, that would be a really cool idea for a story. Like, I have a story coming out in a couple of weeks on the 22nd. It's coming up pretty fast. Music of the Night. It's the CW at Crime Writers Association anthology. And that one was called Music of the Night, and I love music as well as that's my other passion is music. I'm so easy to please. They just got to give me a good meal and some good music on, and like have a nice dinner and then watch a movie after that. I mean, I'm like, I don't need to go anywhere. I'm good. I'm like that's the perfect night for me. Good food is a main thing, but music. So I had a really good idea I thought it was a good idea about a composer who's going insane because he's under the pressure of a deadline. He has to create something really magical in a very short amount of time in order to save his life and his career, basically. And I thought, well, how much? Because I feel under a lot of pressure a lot of the times with deadlines and things. And I'll say to my husband, like, I just can't. I remember when I just had a baby and I could write a book whenever I felt like, and now I got all these deadlines. Everyone's asking me for stuff all the time. And he's like, well, why did you did this to yourself? I said, I know, but I'm very happy, but I'm not complaining really. But I thought, what if it's like you have to have that, you have to hit this deadline, or you would die. It's kind of like that's sort of sometimes you have to motivate yourself to get to the end. So it's like also when you're running, like if I don't make it to the finish line, I'm gonna get eaten by zombies. They have those apps you can listen to. So I just thought I took that to another level. Like, what if you are driven insane by a deadline? Sort of this is what's happening in the story. But that was just a spark of an idea. Does it always work? I mean, so far so good for me. But
Nice.
yeah, I like, again, going back to the writing a traditional mystery. It's my books I wouldn't classify really as cozy because I do have like drug use and different things and they're a little harder edge stuff. But I would say they're totally traditional. They have cozy looking covers, but they're not so super cozy. But short stories you can write. That one that I'm talking about just now is more like a horror. It feels like a horror story to me. There's a crime, but it's more like the guy is going insane. So I love Stephen King, so it kind of reminds me of one of his little vignettes, But you can write whatever you want. A short story. You can write a straight up traditional mystery. You can write a locked room mystery. You can write a short little horror. You can write a flash fiction piece that people are blown away by. So that's what's cool about, for me, short stories. Just you can do. It's just a playground for me. I just like being on the play. Like, oh, I feel like playing with this today. I'm gonna go in this sandbox and scare the crap out of everyone.
Is there a different approach to even starting a short? Is there a different approach to how you approach the material for a short story as to a novel? I mean, obviously it's shorter, but
yeah. Well, I don't do, and I have friends that write sort of like a scene, and then they'll go write another scene, and they'll put them in. I'm very linear. I have to be very linear. I can't do that, and I'm not good at like moving stuff around in a story. I'm like, no, that's not how it goes. I have to I write all my novels from beginning to end. I just can't. I do short stories from beginning to end. I can't do it. I have a terrible sense of direction. Maybe that's why, because I get lost. I get lost getting out of my own neighborhood. Like I can't find anything. So maybe that's just the way my brain is. But I have to do it from the beginning to the end. I mean, of course, I can add a sentence or so. I'm good at editing, obviously, but I don't. I don't tear things apart and use them other places. Like I can't. It's got to be a story that I can see. It's like a movie in my head, and I just write it down. That's how it works.
Yep. So if someone were looking for a Shawn Reilly Simmons story that to introduce themselves to you as a writer, which is there one that you could point them to?
Well, I love them all, but I did the first one that I won the Agatha for a story called The Last Word, and that's in Murder Mystery Most Edible, and that was a Malice Domestic anthology, and that I really love that story. And of course, it has a lot to do with food. But two men that had started out at this together in culinary school have gone off in different directions with their careers. They have a dark secret that they had back from school, and one of them uses it to take advantage of the other. And I really like the end of that story. I like how it worked. That one came really easy to me. So, but I love that one. But I love the one that's just coming out in 2 weeks. I just read another one that was set in Australia for Murder in the Mountains. And that was fun because I just wanted to have a light, breezy sort of. I didn't want to be, so I went from like super light to super dark, and the two ones that are coming out next to each other. But this one's about a honeymooning couple. She's an Instagram influencer, and they're just sort of this. They're on their honeymoon, and they end up on a honeymoon with two other couples who are fighting the whole time. So that it's like it's not the most beautiful honeymoon you could wish for. And I thought that was hilarious. They wanted me to be funny. So I said, well, that would be pretty funny if you were stuck with 4 people and you hated the whole time. But anyway, I thought that was hilarious. To me, that would be funny.
And Murder in the Mountains just came out, or is it's coming out soon?
It just came out. It came out on the 1st or 2nd of February. So yeah,
I saw the cover this week. Yes.
Yeah, and Murder on the Beach was the previous one to this one from the same publishers, and that one is now currently not the story I had. And that one is nominated for an Agatha now too. So
nice, congratulations!
Good luck. Yes, I know. Yeah, I'm having good. Who knew? I'm having good luck with these short story things. So
yeah. Well, let's transition over to talking a little bit about Malice Domestic, which is coming up in April. So for folks who don't know, why don't you tell us a little bit about the conference?
Malice Domestic is a fan convention that takes place in the DC suburbs every spring. And this one is our 34th Malice Domestic. Next year will be our 35th anniversary. So we're like Sisters of Crime is 35 this year. We're like right behind them, which is kind of cool. They're our siblings. But it's a fan-based convention that celebrates the traditional mystery. Agatha Christie is sort of our we hold her up as our goddess at Malice. So we give out the Agatha Awards, and it's just really fun. So authors come and we do panels and signings and lots of different things. But it is a fan convention, so it's not really the place to come to like how to find an agent or how to write your craft panels. It's more about, here's the cooking panel. We love books about food, so let's go to this panel, that kind of thing. But it's really fun. I love it very much. I've been there over 20 years, so it's been
Well,
a lot
I
of
will say that for anyone who's looking for a conference to go to meet authors, to really feel like they're welcome and can just kind of sit down and enjoy themselves. This is a really awesome conference to go to, and Shawn's a big part of that. There are lots of pieces that you put in place for the conference that really make it feel special. She sets up she makes sure everyone has someone to sit with at dinner, so that you're that you just feel like you're welcome there. And I look forward. It has been canceled the last 2 years, correct?
Yeah.
Well, we had Malice online last year, but it was canceled the year before.
Yeah.
And so it'll be such a delight to come to it. So when is that?
April. Oh shoot, put me on the spot. I know it's the end of April. We had to move our week. It's a little bit earlier than usual because we lost our weekend because of COVID nonsense or whatever. We lost our weekend because we had the cancellations and all that thing. So we're getting back on track. I believe it's April 22nd. It's not the 29th. Anyway, it's the end of April.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and if you search on Malice Domestic, you'll find it online. So
malicedomestic.org, and you can see the dates and register. And I'm always working on the next Malice. So it doesn't even matter if COVID has happened or whatever. If people ask me that, I'm like, which one are you talking about? Because I'm always like, it's like a fiscal year for me. Because we're working on 35 as well as 30, 30.
Of course.
Will be 32, 33, 34. There's 3 smashed together. And then I don't know what day it is today. So much I'm.
Can you tell us, I might be putting you on the spot here, but can you tell us some of the headliners from this year's conference?
Reese Bowen, well, we have multiple because we're honoring people that couldn't come and different things like that. So Reese Bowen is one of our guests of honor. Jeff Cohen. You're putting me on the spot because there's a bunch, and I'm not allowed to say the ones for the next year, so I have to be very careful. But Drew Ann Love is our fan guest of honor, and we're so thrilled to have her. Yeah, it's going to be a really good. And the one cool thing about this year is there's this group of ladies. I think they're all ladies. Might be one gentleman. Anyway, there's this group of people who have been coming to Malice since Malice the first.
Oh wow!
So we call them the Faithful Few, and there's about 8 of them or 9, and they are our fan guests of honor as well. So we're having.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, we're treating them all to come on us, and we're getting them all hotel rooms and things like that. But that's just to thank them for hanging in there with us, and it's pretty amazing that they just still come. They come every year, and I've gotten to know them obviously. But yeah, they're the Faithful Few, so they're on our guest list this year too. But it's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be fun to see people in person again.
Yes, it will. We did that at the Crime Bake this year, right before Omicron hit, and it was. I didn't realize how special it was going to feel, even though we were all in masks. We still had everything that you have to deal with, but it was really special to be able to see people. So thank you for doing that. I think I'm looking forward to it, and I hope some other people are as well.
Oh yeah, it's funny because the registration is really robust. And I was just talking to one of my cohorts there, and she's talking about hotel rooms. We have to talk about the boring stuff behind the scenes. Like she's like, well, I don't know. Should we add more hotel rooms? Like they're full already. I'm like, yeah, you should add some more hotel rooms.
Good, because I haven't booked my hotel.
It's almost like, I can't believe they're all coming. I'm like, well, they said they were going to come, So like, put the hotel rooms on the. Anyway, so we have to have all these boring behind the scenes things. But yeah, we're really thrilled. And I think there's a thirst out there to just to see people again and just be with each other, because we're we're all suffering in different ways from all of what we've all, I always keep saying we're in a collective trauma, because hopefully most of us have gotten through it okay, relatively okay, but I think just the isolation has been hard on a lot of people, and even people that really like being alone and home all the time, I think it miss people, because
Yep.
it's just been a
Yep.
lot of the forced isolation has been hard on a lot of people. So
I agree with you wholeheartedly. So we'll have fun in April.
yes, can't
Um,
wait.
so let's talk a little bit about Level Best Book. Level Best Books.
Yeah.
So Shawn, in addition to writing 7 books, raising a child, running Malice, decided a few years ago to buy a publishing house, correct?
Yeah. Yep. And crazy. Yeah. My husband's like, what did you do? What? I was like, nothing. Don't worry about it. Fine.
So tell us a little bit about Level Best Books. What do you publish?
Yeah, take it away. So Level Best was an existing publisher in Boston, and they were very well regarded and had been around since 2003. And about 5, 6 years ago, I saw a message on Facebook from, and of course, all the previous editors were all people I knew from Malice, and I knew for forever. And I saw a message saying they were just going to stop and they were going to give it up, and that was it for them. So I sent the woman a private message. I sent her a private message and I said, hey, what's up with that? What are you guys doing? Because they were MWA approved. They had, well regarded, won a lot of awards, different things like that. And I just felt like, as a person that writes short stories, short fiction, I thought it was a shame to see that go away. Like I don't ever want to see opportunities for writers go away, of course, because it's one more place that they won't be able to publish something, in a traditional way. And she said, hey, we've had other people ask us and we said no, but we wouldn't say no to you if you wanted to take it over. I was like, okay. So I went to my partners. We had one more different partner at the time. And I said, hey, this is the deal. Are you guys interested? Like, no, that's gonna be too hard. And I said, well, I just said all the things I just said. It's like how it shouldn't be all the work they've done to build it up to something really great. I would feel bad if it went away. Okay, well, go up there and talk to them. So I went to Boston. I went up there the next couple of weeks and I met with them and we made a deal and we bought it. And that's how it went. And the deal was we would just do the New England anthology 3 more times. But we went with the understanding that we would expand and do different things if we wanted to. And everyone was happy. That was it. And we ended up doing 5 more. We did it for 5 years. We didn't do this last one. So that was it. But we went 2 years past what we said we would do.
Yep.
And then in the meantime, we branched out. And we started publishing novels and other things. And so that's sort of taken off. So some people during the pandemic or the lockdown, like made sourdough bread and things like that. And we just decided to really build up the business. So we brought on some people to help. And, we just started signing people left and right. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, how many authors do we have? Like, who's this one?
Tell us a little bit about your catalog. How many books are you publishing at this point?
Well, the first year I think we did 4 novels.
Yep.
We did 4, and then the next year maybe we did doubled that, and maybe we got up to a dozen. I'm not sure. But now we have over 100 authors.
Wow.
They're not all writing books at the same time, so it's sort of, we have people booked out to like 2000. The year ends with an 8. I'm not sure what the first number is. Maybe it's 28. I don't know. Me, and I don't know. I don't know what day it is today. But yes, we have people scheduled out for a long time, different series and things like that. But yeah, there's 100 of them around abouts, and there's three main editors, and we each work with each of, we don't all work with, Anyway, long story short, there's a lot, and we're doing a lot of books, at least a few a month, and it's been really great, and we have a lot of happy people. And my ideal, what I really wanted it to be was a place, because I've been published and I've been around publishing for a long time. I've been in Malice for a long time, and I've seen people have really bad experiences, and I've seen people have really good experiences, and I've seen people have middle of the road experiences. But I really wanted it to be sort of a community where I didn't want us to be sitting behind a glass wall, like, here's the deal, this is how we publish, and you guys can't, say anything or have any input. So we want their input. We're really just sort of like, we feel like we're partnering with them on a journey instead of like, we're the boss and you do what we say kind of thing. So that's what we've always tried to foster there. And we have a Zoom meeting every 6 weeks with all of our authors. And so it's funny because you have like 100 little faces,
Wow.
and they can ask questions and share ideas, and it's really just to sort of be part of a community kind of thing. And
That's a
you know,
great idea. Wow.
yeah, it's been fun. And so they've branched off with each other to go do library events. You know, a lot of it's been virtual lately.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
without that, we have one group of ladies, one of them's in California, one's in the Midwest, and two are in New England or whatever. But they've done around the country, they've done like 25 library events together because they have similar kind of themes in their books, and they never would
Yep.
have found each other without that. But I didn't have anything like that when I was coming up in my publishing house. Not that, it's kind of a unique idea. So I'm not complaining. I'm not saying they did something wrong, but I wanted it to be a little bit different, more of like I just like when people are friends. You know what I mean? I like to introduce people to each other. Should have been just a socialite. That would have been great. Oh, I am.
Well, I often think to myself, I should be much richer than I am. So, so we probably have some aspiring writers listening right now. So, as a publisher, talk a little bit about what you look for in a manuscript. I mean, we know you don't want to have any typos. You want to have it be cleanly written, but sort of
Yeah.
beyond that, what do we look for in a manuscript, and what gets your heart pumping when you're reading a manuscript?
Um, well, I'm very like when people say, "What do you want on your pizza?" I like everything. I have a very wide range of taste when it comes to books and food. So I like everything. I mean, I love crime fiction the most. It's just what I sort of was weaned on my whole life, and but I do like mainstream fiction, I guess. But mostly I do crime fiction. That's my passion. But I like cozy traditional all the way up to the, sort of PI and darker edge psychological thriller kind of things. We have it. We have all of that at Malice.
Hmm.
My two partners really love historical novels, and they work with a lot of historical people that are writing in different eras and things like that. And sometimes I'm like, how many of these we're gonna sign about World War II? So like working on these World War II mysteries, which is cool.
Hmm.
And I love them all. But I like a story. So one of my favorite ones I'm working on right now, and the author, she's just wonderful to work with. She's just very enthusiastic. She reminds me of me. And she write a traditional mystery. It's not anything totally unique out of the box, but her character is so funny. And she's a social media influencer, and her character has made a deal. She sold her business to Facebook for like millions of dollars, and now she's helping other people with their social media. And then she stumbles across a crime at her client's business, and so she's using social media to help solve the case. And it's so funny and fun and fresh, and it's just getting a lot of response from we set it up to NetGalley, which we send all of our books up. And sometimes you get a few. She's gotten over 100 pre-pub reviews already, and
Wow.
we've done nothing different. But I think it's just such a fresh take on
Yep.
a formula, on a genre that we're all pretty familiar with. But there's no character like Coco.
Yeah.
So it's
What's
really
the name of the title? What's the title?
it's called hashtag Follow Me for Murder. And I think
Nice.
that might be part of the appeal too, because it's like, well, that book has a hashtag in it, so I'm gonna pick that
Yep.
up. So, but
I'm
yeah,
writing that one
and
down.
yeah, and the author, her name is Sarah Burr, and she's been just real wonderful to work with, and she's a lot of fun. Book is, I mean, I read the manuscript, I'm like, I love this. I want to read more from this character. I just need to read more of this. But I mean, I've read 100,000 traditional mystery books, but
Yep.
and it's not that the mystery was that much more unique. And it was a fresh take on a thing we all love. So anything
Hmm.
that's sort of like, you don't want to write totally out of the box where people don't understand what you're trying to do. But I think trying to bring even just a fresh character to a familiar trope, um, bring your own idea to something that is going to grab my attention, make me want to keep reading. Maybe you want to read the next one. I don't want to put this one down, read the next one. So that's what I think I'm looking for the most, something that's just new and exciting within those constraints. So
Yeah.
I don't
That's
want to
great.
read, I don't want to read experimental fiction. I can't figure out how to get out of my neighborhood. I can't, if I can't figure out what your story is about, I'm not reading that, but you know what I mean?
Do you publish beyond crime fiction at Level Best?
Yeah, actually one of my other passions is young readers. I have a young son. He's 11 now, if you can believe that.
Nope.
And I know he's in middle school. So I'm suddenly not cool to be seen with. So that's new
Yep.
too.
Very
He's
good.
like, can I walk home by myself? I'm like, what? Like he just started walking ahead of me. I was like, are you embarrassed to be seen with me? Basically, yes. So that's all new. But I've always I used to love to read when I was young, of course, and he does too. And I just think bringing in readers early on, kids, I just want to excite kids with books. So we
Mhm.
started YA imprint called Level Elevate, with the 2 V's, which is kind of, I like visual things. But there's the first book we've done is a magical realism book, and it's wonderful. So I mean, I can definitely read beyond crime fiction and enjoy it, but I'm sort of heading up that imprint. So I'm working with a lot of middle grade and YA authors now, and YA is a really I just read YA for myself just for fun, because I still will pick up a YA book and just read it. And usually you can finish them after dinner, before you go to bed. There's some great work being done in for young readers now, so I really wanted to sort of foster some of that at Level Best, so we do that. Then we have we are working on a couple of cookbooks, because again,
that's
if I
great.
like it, so agents, we work with a lot of different agents, and they'll say, well, what don't you like? I'm like, I don't know. If I like it, let me know about it. We might not have room for it, but
Yeah.
I do like a lot of things. And one of them's like, well, you just don't like saying no. I'm like, I do not like saying no, but I'm capable of saying no, but I don't like it. But yeah, if it's something that I really has sparks some kind of interest for one of us, and I really think I believe in it, and I think there's passion behind the project, I will support it.
So for anyone who's interested, do you take unsolicited manuscripts? Are you agented? Yep, you do.
Yes, we do both. We do unagented and agented. That's a hard thing to say. Agented.
Yep. So if someone wanted to reach out to you, they would go to the Level Best Books website.
Yes, levelbestbooks.us.
Nice, very good. So just as a publisher, as your what are the trends that you're seeing in crime fiction?
I don't see anyone writing about the pandemic.
That's interesting.
I thought I would see some of that.
I saw a couple books come out this year. I'll be honest, I haven't read them because I don't want to read about it yet. But but I do know some people have tried to do some experimental stuff with it. But that's interesting. You're not seeing any of it though.
No, I am seeing a strong revival, and well, maybe it's also probably because of my connection with Malice, but I'm seeing a strong revival in the traditional cozy mysteries, and I think that always happens when there's times of trouble, like Simon and Garfunkel or Paul McCartney said. Yeah, because I think they offer comfort and a sense of justice, and there's going to be an end to this, and I think a lot of people are searching for that kind of thing right now. So I have seen an uptick in the number of submissions I get that fall into that category, but it also could be that, oh, that's the Malice lady, she'll like this. The Malice ladies. But no, and I think there's really good, and I love that. I love a good Agatha Christie. I love a good Agatha Christie kind of story. So that's what I'm seeing. But yeah.
I know that there was a big uptick in cozies last year. Are you seeing a lot of cozies coming in?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Any changes in cozies, or any sort of trends in how people are telling that cozy story?
I don't know. I don't know that I'm not a good trend follower. I guess I'm a trend avoider, because I was such a weirdo. Like, I would go to my office and everyone's like, you have to read Eat, Pray, Love. Everyone's reading it. I'm like, I'm not reading that because everyone's reading it. I would eventually read it when nobody was looking. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like jumping on a bandwagon kind of thing. I don't like it. And I don't, it's something to do with me, my brain. But yeah, I just rather go for the individual project and who I really believe in. And if someone shows me that they're very passionate, then I usually buy in right into that. So
nice.
Yeah.
Good.
No trends no trends that I can see, although I'm probably not looking in the right place.
I think Level Best Book sounds like a great home to land as an author. So sounds like you guys are creating a really good business.
Thanks. We're doing really well, and we're very pleased. So
awesome. Tell me this: who are your influences? Who are your big influences in your own writing?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, my very first adult author that I couldn't get enough of was Stephen King, and I was way too young to be reading him. Way too young. And my mom didn't know what we were doing ever because she was at work. So, she's like, you got home for dinner, so I guess everything's fine. I'm like, oh, in the library reading Stephen King all afternoon. But so I read like Pet Sematary, all that stuff like really, really early, which is probably, part of the reason I'm like the way I am. I like but I think he tells a story, and he, I went off to college and studied the greats and all that kind of stuff. But you read a character of his, and you remember the character forever. And I think that's just he makes it seem so easy, but there's the characters he's written are in your mind for the rest of your life, I think. And I think if you
Mhm.
can do that, then you capture the imagination. That's why he's done so well, in my opinion. The longevity of it. So he's definitely the first one. Um, Mary Higgins Clark was a big influence on me early on.
Yeah,
I loved her books. I felt like a grown up when I got to read them.
sure.
And
Yes.
then when I got to meet her, I was like, oh my God, I used to like when I was 13, like read her books in my bed. And she's such a lovely person. She was so lovely to me and everybody. She was loved to everybody, but very sweet. Sue Grafton was early on very big influence for me. I would just, again, I used to read in bed a lot, I guess, because I remember being in bed and just laughing. And mom's like, what's going on up there? Like, I'm reading Sue Grafton. It's funny.
Sue Grafton was who re-entered. I loved crime fiction when I was young. I liked Agatha Christie a lot and a couple others. But I went, I was in college and had to read more serious stuff. And Sue Grafton was my re-entry into crime fiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah. And again, very relatable. So it's sort of like you're reading about Kinsey and you're like, oh yeah, I could totally, that's me. I could see myself doing that kind of stuff. And then Janet Evanovich, I was reading around the same time as that. And then moving forward, I love Hank, Philippa Ryan. I love her book.
Sure.
I love Louise Penny's books. I think she's an amazing writer. She's such a nice person. And her writing is just sort of transcendent. You just feel like you've got to spend time in that place for a while. You're like, you've moved out of your body into that place. And that's a special skill. Again, she makes it look easy. It's totally not. Those are the influences that I can off the top of my head think of. Agatha Christie, like you and I would have been nerd buddies in the library. We would
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Those are the ones I can think of today.
Awesome. Well, tell us how people can find you online.
ShawnReillySimmons.com. There's only one of me. There's lots of Shawn Simmons, lots of Shawn Reillys, but there's only one Shawn Reilly Simmons. That's why I have to use
ShawnReillySimmons.com.
Yeah. And that's my socials are on there and my events and different things. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was such an awesome conversation. And honestly, it's been so nice to be able to catch up with you.
You too. And I could not think of a better person to do this. I love you very much. You're a dear, dear friend and you're a wonderful writer. And that you took the time. You have a book coming out, right?
I do.
In a week or two. What's the name of the
No,
book?
it's not until the end of March. It's called The Secrets We Share.
Yes, but you're a very busy person, and you have all this stuff going on. And you took the time to do this with me, and I mean that just goes to show what a great guy you are, and that's you're a wonderful person. So thank you for taking the time to do this.
Oh well, thank you, and thank you for asking me, and I was delighted to do it. So thanks everyone for coming today, and look for Shawn at ShawnReillySimmons.com, and don't forget her books. They are awesome.
Thank you.
I'll see you in April.
Yeah, I'll see you there. We'll see you
Okay.
there. Bye.
Bye.